Hello and welcome to Unraveled, and I am your host, Marvi Sirmed. As the 2024 US elections draw nearer, the political landscape is brimming with anticipation, strategy, and a few unexpected twists. In today's episode, we delve into the intricate and often misunderstood process that will ultimately decide the fate of this pivotal election. From the national conventions that mark the official start of the final campaign to the unique mechanics of the Electoral College, we'll break down the elements that make the US presidential election a complex and fascinating event. We will explore the significance of the popular vote, the all important swing states, and the critical winner takes all principle that can make or break a candidate's chances. This system, as history has shown us, can sometimes lead to surprising outcomes where the candidate with the most votes nationwide might not necessarily win the presidency. The next steps from now on involve a series of critical phases, including finalizing party nominations, campaign intensification, and ultimately the voting process itself. Both major parties, Republicans and Democrats, finalize their respective candidates through national conventions, where delegates from across the country formally nominate their presidential candidates. The Republican Party has already held its convention last month and has handed the nomination to Donald Trump. The Democratic Party is holding the convention 4 days from now and is expected to nominate Kamala Harris as its presidential candidate. Following these conventions, the campaigns will enter their final and most intense phase, with candidates traveling across the country, participating in debates, and working to secure voter support. When it comes to the voting process, it is unique in the American presidential election and involves two key components: the popular vote and the Electoral College. So, talking about popular vote refers to the total number of votes cast by citizens across the country for their preferred presidential candidate. On election day, voters in each state go to the polls and cast their ballot for the candidate of their choice. These votes are then tallied at the state level to determine which candidate received the most votes within that particular state. However, winning the popular vote nationwide does not directly determine the outcome of the presidential election. Instead, the US uses the Electoral College system. The Electoral College is made up of 538 electors, and each state, plus the District of Columbia, is allocated a certain number of electors based on its population, which is equal to the number of its representatives in Congress, 2 senators, plus its number of representatives in the House. To win the presidency, a candidate must secure a majority of the electoral votes, at least 270 out of 538. Now, winner takes all principle, what is that? Most states, except for Maine and Nebraska, use a winner takes all approach to allocate their electoral votes. This means that the candidate who wins the majority of the popular vote in a state receives all of that state's electoral votes. For example, if a candidate wins 51% of the popular vote in Texas, they receive all 40 of Texas's electoral votes, even if the other candidate has received 49% of the vote. This winner-takes-all system is why candidates focus heavily on winning key swing states, as securing a majority in those states can provide a significant boost in the electoral vote count, even if the nationwide popular vote is close. It's also why there have been instances in American history where a candidate won the national popular vote but lost the presidency because they did not secure enough electoral votes. For example, in 1824, Andrew Jackson won the most popular votes and the most electoral votes, but he did not secure a majority in the Electoral College. The decision was then made by the House of Representatives, which chose John Quincy Adams as president. In a more recent example, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote in 2016 elections by nearly 3 million votes. But Donald Trump won key swing states and secured a majority in the Electoral College, becoming the 45th president. Now, coming to Maine and Nebraska, these are exceptions to the winner takes all rule. They use a proportional approach to allocate their electoral votes. In these states, 2 electoral votes are awarded to the candidate who wins the statewide popular vote, while the remaining electoral votes are distributed based on the popular vote in each congressional district. This means that it is possible for these states to split their electoral votes between candidates, although it is relatively rare. Yes, US elections are determined through the Electoral College system, where voters cast their ballots not directly for the presidential candidates, but for electors who then vote on their behalf. Each state has a certain number of electors based on its population, and most states use winner takes all system, where the candidates with the majority of the popular vote in that state receives all of its electoral votes. So, how the states vote? Voting patterns in the US vary significantly across different states. States are typically categorized as red, meaning Republican leaning, blue, meaning Democrat leaning, or swing states, which can be won by either party and often decide the election. Swing states like Florida, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin receive significant attention from candidates because their outcome are less predictable and can swing the election one way or the other. Additionally, early voting and mail-in voting have become increasingly important, with many states allowing voters to cast their ballots before election day. These methods have been particularly influential in recent elections as they provide more flexibility and convenience for voters. As the election nears, campaigns will focus heavily on these swing states, and efforts to encourage voter turnout will intensify as both parties seek to secure every possible vote. The culmination of this process occurs on election day, when millions of Americans cast their votes, ultimately determining the next president of the United States. And we all wait for that day and for that result with our bated breath. So whether you are a seasoned political observer or just trying to understand what is at stake, stay with us as we unravel these complexities and bring you the insights that matter. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to New Wave Global for more in-depth analyses of the stories that shape our world. Do tell us about what you think about our shows in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you next time.